Hi folks, we're back and we're cutting through the matrix. Last week I talked about Agenda 21, I said touched on it because it's impacting everyone's lives whether they know it or not. And the whole big society idea in Britain is all part of Agenda 21, where the federal governments pretend to decentralize power down to the local level. But in reality, they're bringing you back to a Neo-Feudal system. And your little area will be where you're confined eventually, if you're not one of the special people. And you'll have to work in like a collective, basically. That's what it's about, collectivism. And you'll have a representative who will be supplied to you by common purpose, generally, if you're in Britain. Every country has their own group already formed and funded by the big boys. And they'll go off to the World Bank to borrow money for your little area, and you're all put down, basically, as the guys who have to pay it all back. And you'll also, at the same time, mind you will still be paying more taxes than ever to the federal government. They aren't going to make it cheaper taxes and say, well, you're managing yourselves now, so you don't need this department and that department. No, those departments may vanish, apparently, in the federal level, but the cash that you must pay your governments won't, because now they've decided to give all that cash to supposed third world countries via the new helping the countries out, all their different policies to help or redistribute the wealth, they actually call it now, which is straight from the Communist Manifesto, as we all know, I think, for the ones who listen to this broadcast. So there's an article tonight, and I'm going to put this up on cuttingthroughthematrix.com, and it's about Agenda 21 again, and it talks about national suicide. It starts up from the American point of view with the Constitution that no states shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make any things but gold and silver, coin attainder in payments of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. And it gives the Article 1, Section 10, U.S. Constitution. It's amazing, too, how many presidents and people like Kissinger have been given titles of nobility from Britain, and no one really cares about that anymore, do they? Anyway, it says the section of the Constitution prevents memberships of states, cities, and counties in an organization called International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives. That's the ICLEI I talked about last week. It says, but I'll bet many readers of this article live in a city, town, or county that belongs to ICLEI because it has more than 600 active members throughout the United States, and those members are cities, counties, and states, not individuals. Then it's got a little link here where you can look up your own county or state to see if you're actually a member of it. You'll find that you probably are. It says, if your state is spending your tax dollars to violate Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution to pay for membership in the ICLEI, you need to do something about it. And then it says the Constitution says no state should enter into an alliance with a group devoted to supporting international policies unfriendly to America. Many readers have not yet heard of Agenda 21, also known as Sustainable Development, though newswithviews.com columnists Tom DeWeese and Dr. Michael Kaufman, two of the nation's journalists, experts on the topic, writes of it. In a recent article, DeWeese provided some quotes of individuals involved with ICLEI, and this should explain their philosophy quite clearly. And, of course, I read some of them last week. What they talk about, tearing down all construction, tear up the dams, and get rid of all your industry and so on, and bring it back to wilderness and stuff like that. And it's quite a lengthy article. It talks about the upcoming Rio. That's a very important meeting, again, by this private organization run by, at least headed by Maurice Strong of Canada, who is a little lackey boy of the Rockefellers. That's who picked him up, made him who he is. And they're the ones who brought you, basically, Sustainability Agenda 21 and gave animals and insects more rights than humans. In fact, humans have no rights according to them at all. And so the part 2 of the Earth Charter comes up in 2011. That's going to be quite the international sock to everybody's jaw when it comes out, because your governments will all sign it automatically because they're all in on it, you see. All of them are in on this international agenda. Sustainability, depopulation, eventually mandatory sterilization. That's for those who are still fertile. Most of us are already going the other way with the injections we've all been given, plus the food we're forced to eat. Now, what's coming for the world has to be looked at from where it really all starts. They always use Britain as a flagship, and the sustainability also impacts all the schooling system. And this article here is about what you can expect in the US, Canada, and across the planet. It says, a shock to the education system, free schools to open 6 days a week, 51 weeks a year. And they give an example here of Norwich in England. It says, Norwich free school will only close for a week at Christmas and for bank holidays. Pupils are required to stay as late as 8 p.m. at one free school. Up to 20 free schools opening September, with 100 more expected next year. So remember, your little community is to pay for your own schools, and the teachers and the staff can also set their own wages as well. That's awfully nice, and their own times that they will teach, even if it's up, I guess, to midnight. There's no laws against it. But when you really look through the article, what it is really is what I read last week too, to do with socialism, where Bertrand Russell talks about it, and he said that eventually the state will take over all the roles and functions that the parent used to do. He meant including raising the child before it goes to school, and we have all that in place, plus all the evening time that you would call quality time now. The state will give them their values up to 8 p.m. at least, and maybe later, right through the weekend as well if need be. And then that is the new society. This is the new society to get one generation utterly divorced again from the last generation, which was divorced from the previous one. They're really doing it in jumps about 5 years now. It's very, very quick how quickly they can raise the new crop and indoctrinate them into the system. Beria talked about that at the Comintern meeting in 1934 in Soviet Russia. So it used to take 70 years to make a major change in culture across any country. He says now we can do it in about 5 years. He says 3 to 5 years, because of the intensive scientific indoctrination that we give them. And that is so true now. People don't know it, but this is the way it's done. It's not very difficult when you understand it. You prepare every kindergarten class, for instance, every year, just a step ahead of the one prior to them. It's that simple. I'll put another link up tonight. It's called Pennsylvania County Rejects Agenda 21. And they went through the ICLEI membership, International Council of Local Environment Initiatives. That's the guys working on Agenda 21 and all your councils. And they've got some pretty well out. So I'll put a link up too. You should all follow suit, by the way, and get these sods.